My reflection stares back at me, the purplish blue swelling beneath my right eye impossible to hide. I lean closer to the bathroom mirror, gently touching the raised skin. They told me to stay quiet. I brought receipts instead. A minute later, the words hang in the air of my kitchen as I arrange the evidence across my oak table photographs spanning decades, medical records filed in chronological order, and voice recordings neatly labeled with dates. My hands no longer tremble. 3 days after Thanksgiving, the ice pack sits abandoned on the counter, determination having replaced the familiar chill of fear. After 26 years, I'm done protecting my brother. I straighten a hospital discharge form from 2009. Even worse, I'm done protecting my parents who protect him. The manila folder containing Sylvie's preschool drawings sits heaviest among the documents. Her stick figures show a small child cowering while a larger figure looms overhead. I tap my finger against it, jaw tightening. My niece Sylvie won't grow up believing her bruises are just family matters like I did. I remember how it started at Thanksgiving dinner, the table set with Mother's heirloom china that once belonged to her mother. Steam rose from the golden turkey as Father carved with surgical precision. The conversation flowed pleasantly until I casually mentioned what I'd heard downtown. "So when were you planning to tell me about transferring the Cedar farmhouse to Thayer?" I speared a roasted potato, keeping my tone light. The room went silent. Mother's fingers stilled on her water glass, her back straightening like a ruler. "That's not something we need to discuss at dinner, Marin." Father's hand waved dismissively through the air, carving knife still clutched in his grip. "Your brother's been managing the orchard for years. It makes sense." I noticed how Thayer's mouth curled into a smirk behind his napkin, how his eyes glinted with victory. Sylvie sat beside him, shoulders hunched, pushing food around her plate without eating. "I just find it interesting that half the family property goes to him without a conversation." I kept my voice steady, especially when grandfather's will specified equal shares. Thayer's knife clattered against his plate. "You're just jealous you didn't get your slice, as usual." "I'm concerned about fairness," I countered, noticing how Sylvie flinched at her father's tone, "and about why this was done so quietly." I barely saw him move. One moment Thayer was seated, the next he had rounded the table. His fingers dug into my upper arm as he yanked me from my chair. Mother and father didn't even rise. "Always the victim," he snarled, his face inches from mine. When I didn't back down, something snapped behind his eyes. The kitchen counter caught me across the cheekbone when he slammed me backward. The crack of bone was unmistakable. Through waves of pain, I spoke clearly, meeting Mother's horrified gaze. "This is the 27th time I've documented every single one." Father's face darkened with fury. "That's enough, Marin." Mother moved then, but not toward me. She crossed to the wall and ripped the landline from its socket, cord dangling. "Don't be dramatic, no one's calling anyone." I drove myself to the hospital 30 minutes later, leaving them to finish their pumpkin pie. The dashboard clock read 7:42 p.m. Through the rearview mirror, I could see light spilling from the dining room windows, silhouettes gathered around the table as if nothing had happened. At Oak Ridge Memorial, Dr. Novak's eyes narrowed as she examined my cheekbone. "Is this the first time something like this has happened?" The familiar lie formed in my throat, then dissolved. "Number. It's just the first time I'm not lying about how it happened." She nodded slowly, making a note in my chart. "Your brother did this?" "Yes." The word felt foreign on my tongue after decades of excuses. Later, a woman in a gray pantsuit introduced herself as the hospital social worker. She placed a stack of pamphlets beside me with words like domestic violence and family abuse emblazoned across the top. "There are resources available," she said quietly. "Legal options, too." I stared at the papers, something breaking loose inside my chest. I'm 34 years old, and this is the first time anyone's offered help. She squeezed my hand before leaving. It's never too late to break the cycle. I didn't know how right she was, or how those pamphlets would become the first entries in a file that would finally end my family's reign of silence. At the present, my phone buzzes against the kitchen counter. Mother's name flashes on the screen, a text message appearing below it. "Don't provoke Thayer again. You know how he gets." A wave of nausea hits me so violently I sink to the floor, back pressed against the refrigerator. My trembling fingers scroll through our message history, landing on a thread from February. My breath catches in my throat. Sylvie spilled juice on Thayer's presentation materials. He overreacted, but she's fine. Just needs to be more careful around her father. The words swim before my eyes. The same excuses, the same phrases, the same careful language that defined my childhood now wrapping itself around my niece. She needs to be more careful. He didn't mean it. Don't make a big deal. I whisper into the empty kitchen. They're grooming another generation to accept abuse as love. The phone rings. Rachel's name on the screen makes my heart skip. We've been friends since 3rd grade, the only one who ever asked about my bruises. Marin, I need to talk to you about Sylvie. Her voice carries the same careful tone she used when we were 12, and she found me hiding in the girls' bathroom. She's staying with your parents while I'm traveling for work. Is she okay? My voice remains steady despite the storm brewing inside. She has bruises on her arm. When I asked, she said. Rachel pauses, and I can picture her twisting her wedding ring like she always does when uncomfortable. She said I shouldn't be a drama queen like Aunt Marin. My heart rate monitor app chirps a warning from my watch. I take a deliberate breath, focusing on the kitchen tile pattern beneath me. There's more, Marin. She repeated it exactly like she was quoting someone. Family matters stay private. I don't want to cause trouble in your family, but that's exactly what they count on. I cut in, my voice unexpectedly firm. Everyone's politeness, everyone's silence. I stand up, legs steadier than I expected. My reflection in the microwave door shows a woman I barely recognize determined rather than defeated. Sylvie will be with them for 2 more weeks? I ask, already calculating what this means. Yes, my conference runs through the 27th. I can try to make arrangements. Not yet. I'm thinking steps ahead now. Let me handle this carefully. After hanging up, I sink into my desk chair, opening my laptop to the community college faculty portal. The semester evaluations are pending. One wrong move and my brother's connections could turn family drama into concerning behavior from Professor Kellis, the photography department coordinator position I've worked toward for 5 years. Hangs in the balance. The local newspaper tab sits open beside it, their feature on Thayer's management of our family orchard. The property transfer worth $720,000 gives him resources I can't match, connections I don't have. I walk to the bathroom, lifting my shirt to examine the small scar below my ribs. The 10th of March, 2009. Pushed into kitchen counter corner during argument over borrowed car. Each mark on my body has its corresponding entry in my journal. Methodical, dated, documented. My father's voice message plays from the speaker. Your brother's under a lot of pressure with the orchard. Don't make things harder. Family matters stay in the family, Marin. You know that. The same phrases, the same tactics, the same expectation of silence. My phone rings again, a number I don't recognize. Marin, it's Alta Rowan. Do you remember me? Mrs. Rowan. My 10th grade English teacher who once kept me after class to ask about the fingerprint bruises on my wrist. Of course I remember you, I say, surprised at the warmth in my voice. I was cleaning out old files before retirement and found something you should have. Her voice carries the same gentle authority I remember. I kept the incident report from when you were 12. I always suspected it wasn't just roughhousing like your parents claimed. As I hang up with Mrs. Rowan, I face a decision that would change everything. Should I confront my family privately one last time and risk them manipulating the situation again, or was it time to bring everything into the light publicly? Immediate exposure might protect Sylvie faster, but patience might allow me to build an ironclad case. When silence has been your family's religion for decades, is shattering it an act of destruction or creation? I look at the open tabs on my laptop, Sylvie's school schedule, the community gala announcement featuring my brother, and the Child Protective Services website I've never had the courage to fully explore. My finger hovers between them, trembling with the weight of 26 years of quiet compliance and the promise I made to myself 3 days ago, never again. A week later, I stare at my phone screen, thumb hovering over Eudora's latest Facebook post. My mother's perfectly manicured profile picture smiles next to the announcement. So proud of our Thayer. Nominated for the Silver Acorn Award for Family Business Excellence. Join us at the County Philanthropy Gala this Saturday to celebrate. The comments section overflows with congratulations. What a wonderful family, writes Mrs. Henderson from church. The Kellis legacy continues, adds Councilman Barnes. My jaw tightens when I scroll to Thayer's response. Couldn't have done it without my parents, who always stood by me no matter what. The words "no matter what" burn like acid. 300 likes and counting. I toss the phone onto my couch cushions and press my fingertips against my temples. 3 days. The gala is in 3 days, and the Oak Ridge Register already ran a feature on Thayer's turnaround story and commitment to family values. The irony would be laughable if it weren't so sickening. The box from my storage closet sits open on the coffee table, an old external hard drive nestled in bubble wrap. I plug it into my laptop, heart hammering as folders appear on screen. One labeled simply, Insurance. When the first image loads, my 13-year-old self with a split lip and swollen, imy lungs sees. Black spots dance at the edges of my vision. I force myself to breathe in for 4 counts, hold for 7, out for 8, the technique my therapist taught me years ago. I scroll through dozens of photos, each meticulously dated. Ages 8 through 17, documented with the precision of someone who understood, even then, that evidence would someday matter. Some injuries visible, others hidden beneath clothing. All explained away by a mother who excelled at creative storytelling. Marin's so clumsy, fell right off her bike. Teenagers and their sports, always roughhousing. The throbbing in my cheekbone intensifies, a constant reminder of Thanksgiving's violence. Sleep has become a luxury I can't afford, each position pressing painfully against the fracture. The constant ache clouds my thinking, but not enough to dull my resolve. My phone buzzes. Rachel. Sylvie fell down the stairs yesterday, she says without preamble, her voice tight with controlled fury. That's what your mother told me when I called to check in. I close my eyes. Let me guess. She's clumsy, takes after her Aunt Marin. How did you know? Rachel's breath catches. 26 years of the same script. I open a new folder on my laptop, create a file labeled Sylvie, and start a chronology. Can you take a picture of her injuries the next time you video call? Already did. I'll send them now. I return to my sorting after we hang up, arranging everything chronologically: medical records, photographs, the few voice recordings I managed to capture as an adult. 26 years of evidence spanning my dining room table, like the world's most twisted timeline. The doorbell startles me. Through the peephole, I see Mrs. Rowan's silver hair and kind eyes. When I open the door, she holds up a casserole dish. Thought you might need dinner, she says simply, following me to the kitchen. She doesn't comment on the evidence sprawled across my table, just sets the dish on the counter and helps me find plates. We eat in comfortable silence until she places a weathered hand on my shoulder. When I was your age, she says softly, I learned that standing alone for the truth is better than standing with others for a lie. Her words sink into my chest, a warm counterbalance to the cold determination that's been driving me forward. The following afternoon, I park in my parents' circular driveway, a grocery bag and homemade pie balanced in my arms. Through the bay window, I catch a glimpse of Thayer leaning over Sylvie, his finger jabbing the air inches from her face as she shrinks into the sofa cushions. Mother opens the door before I knock, her eyes widening at my unexpected appearance. Marin. She glances at the groceries, then back to my face. You didn't need to bring anything. Your face looks better. I step past her into the entryway. Thought I'd drop by to check on Sylvie. Heard she took a tumble. In the kitchen, I unpack the groceries while Mother wipes already clean counters, her nervous energy filling the space between us. Father enters, newspaper tucked under his arm, and nods stiffly in my direction. I found the old family albums in my closet, I mention casually, arranging fruit in the bowl. Interesting how all my photos were removed. Father's face hardens. Those albums are ancient history. No one needs to dwell on the past. Really? I move toward the living room where Sylvie sits alone now, coloring book open on her lap. Because some history repeats unless we learn from it. I sit beside her, gently touching her shoulder. She flinches slightly before recognizing me, then offers a tentative smile. Her sleeve pulls back just enough to reveal finger-shaped bruises circling her wrist. Something shifts inside me as I look at those marks against her small arm. The familiar tremor that has lived in my hands for as long as I can remember, the constant vibration of fear that became so normal. I stopped noticing itis completely gone. My hands are steady as stone. That evening, my phone lights up with messages of support. Rachel first. I can cut my trip short. Sylvie's safety matters more than this conference. Mrs. Rowan's text follows. I've written down everything I witnessed during your school years. The bruises, the absences, your parents' excuses. Whatever you need, just ask. Dr. Novak from Oak Ridge Memorial calls next. I've reviewed your records, both current and past, she says, her professional tone tinged with concern. There's a clear pattern here, Marin. If you decide to take action, I'll testify to what I've observed. I contrast their messages with my family's demands. My supporters ask what I need. My family tells me what to feel. Before leaving my parents' house earlier, I had paused at the door, turning to face the three of them, mother, father, and Thayer standing in an instinctive, united front. You have 72 hours to tell the truth, I said, my voice steady and clear. Or I will. Now, I open my laptop and begin compiling a digital presentation. Photos fade in and out. Medical records appear with key sections highlighted. Audio recordings play with transcripts appearing below. Everything meticulously organized, irrefutable. With one final click, I purchase a ticket to the County Philanthropy Gala, where Thayer will receive his award, where my parents will beam with pride from the front row, where the community will celebrate the golden family facade I'm about to shatter. On the gala night, the black dress hangs from my closet door, its structured silhouette a reminder of the battle ahead. I smooth my hands over the fabric, feeling its weight against my palms. My reflection in the mirror reveals what makeup couldn't fully conceal: a yellowish-purple bruise beneath my right eye, fading but still visible. A badge of courage now, not shame. Perfect, I whisper, applying a final touch of concealer. The bruise remains just noticeable enough to raise questions without demanding immediate attention. Strategic visibility. The County Philanthropy Gala buzzes with conversation when I arrive. Crystal chandeliers cast warm light across tables draped in cream-colored linens. I spot my parents near the front, Eudora's pearl necklace catching the light as she laughs with the mayor's wife. Thayer stands nearby, one hand in his pocket, the other gripping a whiskey glass. I move through the crowd with deliberate calm, nodding at familiar faces, accepting condolences about my accident with practiced grace. Each step follows the plan I've rehearsed for 3 days. The weight of my phone in my clutch reminds me of the evidence waiting to be unleashed, 26 years of silence about to shatter in a single evening. Marin, Mrs. Carmichael grasps my hand, her eyes widening slightly at my cheekbone. We've missed you at book club. Just needed some recovery time, I say, my voice steady. But I wouldn't miss tonight for anything. The event organizer, Vivian Warner, taps the microphone. Ladies and gentlemen, please welcome to the stage the recipients of this year's Family Heritage Award, Garth and Eudora Kellis. Applause ripples through the ballroom as my parents rise from their table, their posture straight, their smiles practiced. My father's hand rests possessively on my mother's lower back, guiding her toward the podium. Now. I walk, not rush, toward Vivian before my parents reach the stage. Our eyes lock, and I notice the exact moment her professional smile falters. The bruise has done its work. Vivian, I say quietly, there's something the community needs to know before this award is presented. Her gaze darts between me and my approaching parents. Marin, this isn't... It's precisely the time. My words carry the weight of 26 years of silence. My father reaches us first, his hand clamping around my upper arm. My daughter is unwell, he announces loud enough for nearby tables to hear. She's always been troubled. His grip tightens, but I don't flinch. Instead, I turn my face deliberately toward the nearest cluster of guests, ensuring they see the bruise in full light. Whispers spread through the crowd like ripples in still water. Marin. My mother's voice drops to a frantic hiss. This isn't the place. Think about what people will say. That's exactly what I'm counting on, Mother. The crowd's attention shifts entirely to our family tableau. Conversation dies. Forks pause midway to mouths. The tension between us has become the evening's main attraction. Get her out of here, Thayer growls, striding toward us. His face flushes with the familiar rage that has marked so many family gatherings. He reaches for me, fingers curled into half fists, exactly as I predicted. 2 men from a nearby table step forward, creating a barrier between us. Thayer stops short, suddenly aware of the audience. Too late, his approach has confirmed everything without me saying a word. Vivian clears her throat. Perhaps we should. Let her speak, calls a voice from the back. Mrs. Rowan stands near the dessert table, her silver hair gleaming under the chandeliers, her chin raised in challenge. Standing at that microphone, facing not just my family but our entire community, I wonder, am Am I about to destroy my family's reputation, or am I finally giving us all a chance at honest healing? Sometimes truth is both destruction and creation. My gaze sweeps the room. Rachel positions herself near the entrance, phone raised to record everything. Doctor. Novak slips through the door, manila folder tucked under her arm, responding to my text from 20 minutes ago. My support network, assembled and ready. For those wondering about my face, I begin, my voice stronger than I've ever heard it. This isn't an accident. This is what happens when you question family decisions at the Kellis dinner table. Murmurs ripple through the crowd. Several of Father's golf partners exchange glances, shifting their weight from foot to foot. My brother Thayer did this at the Thanksgiving dinner, I continue, while our parents watched, the same brother you're celebrating tonight for his family values. I retrieve my phone, pulling up the recording I made last week. My mother's voice fills the ballroom. Sylvie, stop that crying right now. Don't be a drama queen like your Aunt Marin. Nobody likes girls who tell tales. Eudora's carefully composed face crumples. Her hand flies to her throat, fingers clutching at her pearls as if they're suddenly strangling her. I have 26 years of similar recordings. I say, watching as Garth's friends step subtly away from him. 26 years of hospital visits. 26 years of being told that family matters stay private. Thayer's business associates huddle together, exchanging troubled glances. The Orchard partnership discussions from last week seem suddenly precarious. Vivian steps to the microphone beside me. Mr. and Mrs. Kellis, would you care to address these accusations? My father's jaw tightens, but for once he has no ready answer. My mother stares at the floor, her foundation unable to hide the flush spreading across her neck. Thayer looks wildly around the room, seeking the support that has always been guaranteed. For the first time in my life, I watch their control crumble in real time. Receipts, as it turns out, speak louder than reputation. Mrs. Rowan catches my eye and nods once, the gesture containing decades of waiting for this moment. Rachel gives me a thumbs up, her phone still recording. Doctor. Novak stands ready with her evidence, another voice to confirm what I've always known. The silence stretches, a different kind than what has defined my family. Not the silence of secrets kept, but the silence of truth finally heard. The weight of silence lifts from my shoulders as I stand before the glittering crowd at the County Philanthropy Gala. Father steps forward, a paper trembling in his hand like autumn leaves before a storm. His face, normally composed into careful authority, now twitches at the corners. Ladies and gentlemen, he announces, voice pitched higher than normal, I regret this unfortunate scene. My daughter has been struggling with difficulties. He brandishes what appears to be a psychological evaluation. Through the spotlights, I can see my name at the top, followed by clinical terms, persistent delusions, and paranoid tendencies. Mother glides forward in her pearls, hand pressed against her sternum in practiced concern. We've tried to get her help. This is part of her illness. The crowd murmurs. I see doubt creeping into their expressions. For 26 years, the Kellis family has been Oak Ridge County royalty. Who would question them? Thayer approaches with calculated smoothness, his smile never reaching his eyes. I've always protected my sister, even from herself. His words drip with false compassion as he turns to the audience. When she was a teenager, she'd make up stories. Marin has always needed special understanding. Father's final blow comes with a suggestion to Sheriff Wilson, standing near the refreshment table. Perhaps Marin should be removed, for her own good. The familiar tightness creeps into my throat, that old feeling of being disbelieved, dismissed, erased, but tonight, it dissolves into something else entirely. I reach for the leather portfolio tucked under my arm. My hands no longer shake. I have receipts, I say, voice clear as a bell in the sudden quiet. The projector screen behind me illuminates with the press of a button on my remote. A hospital record from 1998 appears, listing a fractured wrist, age 7. Fell from a tree, Father had told the doctor. The next slide, X-rays of cracked ribs, age 12. Roughhousing with her brother, Mother had explained. I advanced through the slides methodically. These are hospital records spanning 26 years, each injury documented, each excuse accepted. My voice grows stronger with each image. A photograph of my bruised back, timestamp matching the Kellis annual summer barbecue, 2010. A broken finger from Christmas, 2013. Mrs. Alta Rowan kept records too. I nod toward my former teacher, standing tall near the back of the room. She documented my unexplained absences after accidents. Notice how they always followed family events. The crowd has gone utterly still. I press play on an audio recording. Mother's voice fills the ballroom. Just tell the doctor you fell on the stairs, Marin. No need for dramatics. Another recording. Stop crying, your brother didn't mean it. The final evidence slides onto the screen, 2 photographs side by side. My bruised arm at age 9. Sylvie's identical bruising, taken last week. Family patterns repeat unless someone breaks them. I say, looking directly at my parents. I was silent for 26 years. Silence doesn't heal, it infects. Mother's face has gone bone white. Father's jaw clenches so hard I can see the muscle jumping. Thayer's eyes dart toward the exit. The crowd stares in stunned silence, all eyes fixed on my family. The grand ballroom of the Oak Ridge Hotel holds more than 200 people, donors, business leaders, neighbors, all witnessing the truth I've carried alone for decades. Dr. Kira Novak rises from her seat, elegant in her dark suit. She steps forward, professional and composed. That psychological evaluation is a forgery, she states clearly. Miss Kellis has been my patient for 3 years. She exhibits remarkable resilience, not delusion. That document was not created by any ethical medical professional. Thayer's composure shatters. With a guttural sound, he lunges toward me, arm raised. You lying! 2 men from the Chamber of Commerce intercept him, restraining his arms. The visual confirmation of his violence speaks louder than any evidence I've presented. People move, then physically shift their positions in the room. Mrs. Rowan steps to my side. Rachel moves closer to the stage. Dr. Novak stands her ground. One by one, community members position themselves beside me, creating a human barrier between my family and me. Sheriff Wilson approaches, notebook already in hand. I believe we need to have a formal conversation down at the station. He looks directly at Thayer, whose face has twisted into something unrecognizable. The event organizer hovers uncertainly near the podium, the gleaming silver acorn award still in her hands. I walk over to her, the crowd parting. Perhaps you should reconsider the recipients, I say quietly, taking the award and placing it back on her table. The whispers begin immediately. Legal consequences, police reports, property disputes, the orchard. I walk past my stunned parents, pausing beside Mother. Her hand reaches for many a reflexive gesture from a woman who taught me to hide bruises with makeup and lies. I lean close to her ear, my voice meant only for her. Tomorrow I file for custody of Sylvie. The sharp intake of her breath tells me she understands. The dynasty of silence ends tonight. The receipts have been tallied, the bill presented. And this time, the Kellis family will pay in full. Sunlight streams through the open windows of my living room, casting warm rectangles across the hardwood floor where Sylvie sits cross-legged, colored pencils scattered around her. 6 months have passed since the gala, and my home bears little resemblance to the fortress it once was. Sylvie's artwork covers the walls, bright splashes of color that have replaced the careful neutrals I once hid behind. Aunt Marin, what do you think? Sylvie holds up her latest creation, a family portrait with 2 stick figures standing hand in hand beneath a canopy of green. It's beautiful, I say, noticing how she's drawn herself taller than before, shoulders straight instead of hunched. I love how you've captured the pecan trees. Can we hang it in the dining room? She asks, her voice clear and confident, so different from the whispers of before. Over dinner each evening, Sylvie now speaks freely about her day, her opinions flowing without hesitation. The silence that once suffocated us both has been replaced with questions, laughter, and occasionally, tears that we don't have to hide. Tuesday evenings, my living room fills with voices as my support group for family abuse survivors meets. The circle of chairs expands each week, the stories shared becoming stepping stones rather than stumbling blocks. Looking in the mirror this morning, I noticed the scar below my eye has faded to a thin silver line. More striking is how Sylvie's face has transformed, laughter lines now more prominent than the tightness of fear that once pinched her features. 5 minutes until we need to leave. I remind Sylvie, smoothing my blouse as nervous energy flutters in my chest. The community center parking lot overflows as we arrive. Inside, rows of chairs face the small stage where a microphone stands. Unlike the gala months ago, I approach this platform by choice, my steps measured but unhurried. Thank you all for coming, I begin, scanning the audience that has tripled since my first talk. Among the faces, I recognize former family friends, neighbors who once looked away, colleagues who whispered behind hands. Silence isn't peace, it's protection for the abuser. Documentation isn't Dramat's defense. I say, the words flowing more easily now. The receipts I kept weren't signs of bitterness but building blocks for freedom. Afterward, in my garden where early spring tulips push through the soil, Rachel raises her glass in a toast. Mrs. Rowan and Dr. Novak join us around the wrought iron table, their presence a reminder that family can be chosen, not just inherited. To speaking truth even when your voice shakes, Rachel says, clinking her glass against mine. Sylvie approaches with handmade cards, one for each woman. For helping me and Aunt Marin be brave, she says, her voice steady as she distributes them. Later, after everyone has gone, I place 2 teacups on the shelf above my kitchen window. The first, my mother's antique porcelain, bears a crack running from rim to base, mended with gold that catches the light. Beside it sits Sylvie's cup, whole and unblemished, its surface uninterrupted by damage. On the counter lie the court documents granting me permanent guardianship and maintaining the no-contact order against my parents and Thayer. Beside them rests a leather-bound journal titled, Things We Choose to Say Out Loud, replacing the hidden notebook where I once recorded things I was told never to say. The mail brought a letter today, an invitation from the pecan orchard's new cooperative owners to their first harvest celebration. The property now supports 3 families who work the land together. As I look at these 2 cups bearing the scars of its history, one still whole, I wonder which is more valuable. Is it better to prevent all damage, or to learn that being broken isn't the end of your story? What would you choose? The wisdom that comes from healing, or the innocence that comes from protection?